Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyyihi Muhammadin Sayyidul Mursaleen, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. May praise be to Allah, the creator of the worlds, and peace and blessing be upon his prophet Muhammad, the head of all messengers, upon his family and all his companions. In this gathering, I will shed some light on the sacrifice of Indian Muslims for freeing Indian from the clutches of the English. Dear audience, the onslaught of Europe on India started with the Portuguese pirates in 17th century, but it was heightened when the English, disguised as traders, established bases with an eye on India's wealth and land. Shah Waliullah Muhaddis Dehlvi 1703 to 1762 was the first person who apprehended the danger. He carved out a plan of complete revolution. Shah Waliullah's various books reflect his thought and propound a complete framework. Shah Waliullah is the frontrunner of this field. Later, his sons and pupils forwarded his mission. Meanwhile, the company began to expand its area. It resulted in a fierce fight between the company and Sabdullah in Palasi, Bengal in 1757. Sabdullah was defeated and the door was opened for Britain to occupy Bengal. Afterwards, Hyder Ali and his son Tipu Sultan stood up to stop English steps in southern India. But this campaign suffered a major setback due to internal treachery. Tipu was maltreated, fighting in Srangpattam in 1799. The English general Nell climbed up his dead body and shouted, "From today India is ours." Finally, one day in 1803, the Mughal king in Delhi was forcibly asked to sign a treaty that read, "The people for Allah, the country for King His Majesty, and the order for the company." Meanwhile, Shah Abdul Aziz 1746 to 1823, who was observing the situation very carefully, issued a fatwa saying that India has turned into a Darul Harb, non-Muslim country. Muslims must wage war against the British, but the crown was not prepared to start any revolutionary movement. So Sayyid Ahmad Shaheed, a disciple of Shah Abdul Aziz, with his companions migrated to Kandahar in Afghanistan in search of a land from where he can run revolutionary movement. Unfortunately, the greatest militant movement of this subcontinent suffered sedition of Afghans and finally collapsed. The remaining people, especially the ulama Sadiqpur, continued their mission inside India. Dear audience, the sparks of hate and anger against the English burst again in 1857. This time it was not a mutiny of a group but a mass revolt against the English throughout the country. In Shamali, Indians revolted in the leadership of Hadi Imdadullah, while they were fighting in Lucknow and Faizabad under the command of Begum Nawab and Maulana Ahmadullah. Meerut and Delhi were the centers where India army men were fighting for Sultan Bahadur Shah Zafar. The revolt continued for months, but the Indians were defeated in the long run. It is noteworthy that the caravan of freedom was led purely by Muslims till 1857. Since the power was snatched from the Muslims, so they were naturally the first enemies of the aligned government. According to historian, 27,000 Muslims were only hanged to death. Shah Zafar was exiled to Rangoon and his descendants were finished off. After the failure of 1857 revolution, the Muslim leaders changed their strategy. They started setting up educational institutions across the country to combat and the disastrous British policy. On the foremost of them was Maulana Muhammad Qasim Nanotwi and his colleagues who established Darul Ulum in Dewan to produce a team of ulama who could fight eyeball to eyeball with the British government. The first student of Darul Ulum Dewan, Maulana Mahmud Hassan, known as Sheikhul Hind, chalked out a plan known as Reshmi Rumal Moment, Silken Letters Moment. Sheikhul Hind had a secret agreement with Ottoman Caliphate of Turkey to attack on British bases in India and prepare ground for revolt. But this plan also was sabotaged. Consequently, he was arrested and sent to Malta Island. As the First World War erupted, the India subcontinent was resounding with the slogans of Khilafat movement. Until this time, no prominent Hindu leader was in the field. Because of the World War, the global scenario changed and India Hindus got up from their long slumber. Sheikhul Hind, when released from Malta, was supposed to get down in Bombay. Gandhiji was amongst those who came to receive him. Then the Muslim leaders elected Gandhiji as leader. Since Hindus were in majority, so it was necessary to win their favor to chase the English. Around 1919, Jamiat Ulama Hind came into being to provide Muslims a platform to fight against the English. It is worth mentioning that it was Jamiat which taught the Congress to follow the path to freedom. Otherwise, it was not founded with the sole purpose of independence. The Jamiat leaders worked closely with the Congress and inspired it to adopt complete freedom program. Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad was the hero of India's independence. Through his writings, particularly historic newspaper Al-Hilal and Al-Balag, he headed up the subcontinent with warm slogans of freedom. He headed the Congress especially in the most crucial time of independence history during the Second World War and afterwards. It was the continuous pressure and wise policy of the Congress under his leadership that materialized the dream of freedom in shorter period. Dear audience, these are some brief extracts from the history of freedom. Otherwise, the sacrifice that Muslims have offered to free India from the British slavery cannot be described in a short speech. The most important thing is that Muslims were pioneers in freedom fighting and only they carried it on till 19,000. The Hindu leaders appeared long after them, and Muslims went parallel with them till the country was free. Muslims had always held high the torch of patriotism and freedom fighting. Today, it is tragic enough that Muslims are blamed that they are traitors. Muslims fighters, instead of being paid homage, are removed from textbooks and history. While many in Hindus community think that Muslims have got their share in the form of Pakistan, but they forget that still India has more Muslims than Pakistan or any other country in the world except Indonesia. Dear audience, The purpose to mention this sacrifice is to remind you our brave past. Since it is said that a nation which fails to treasure its history is lost in the darkness of time. Such a nation has nothing that inspires it to face new threats with courage and determination. May Allah keep Muslims of India safe and prosperous, and may India be the most peaceful and flourishing place in the world.